If you were prepared, the Ultra Necrozma fight was easy. Sure, I lost the first and second time, but the third time, I just used Toxic Stalled until the end.
I mean, yeah, any Pokemon fight is... Like, how good you do in a Pokemon fight is dependent. I mean, like, this is pretty reductive, right? You could say this about any boss fight in any video game, right? It's like, oh, if you possess the critical knowledge that you need to know how to beat the final boss in fucking Dark Souls, then yeah, obviously you can get fucking past it, but... The point is that, I think the point that a lot of people are making with Necrozma is if you go in unprepared, it like destroys you, and that can feel pretty bad, right? Just because there's a way to cheese it really easily doesn't mean that it's like not like badly designed. In fact, if anything, that might mean that it's actually not that good of a design, right? Like a really good boss fight is identifiable by the fact that, you know, you actually have to beat it fair and square. If you need a Toxic Stall if you're losing twice, it's not easy, you're cheesing it. Yeah, exactly.
Ash is awesome, May's the best Pokegirl, advanced shipping is the best ship.
I have no... Listen, fucking anime fans fucking weird me out. I'm not gonna lie. What the fuck is advanced shipping? Here's a good take. I hope they will get rid of turn-based battling. I really don't like it. It's very boring, but I don't have much hope. I actually... Listen, I'm not gonna say I agree with this, but I kinda also feel like... Because like so many... series, or like a lot of series that used to be turn-based did go like real-time at some point, like Final Fantasy and shit, right? It kind of seems like turn-based combat for RPGs is a little bit outdated. And I think with the like technology we have available now time, I think real-time Pokemon battles, or at least like like some sort of mix or something, or just a completely new combat system, if they put a lot of time and effort into it and take that risk, has the potential to revive the series, especially for longtime fans. But I also realize that that's not what they're going for, and the Game Freak is always going to play it super safe and never give us a completely revamped battle system. I really think that. Unless the series going like super downhill and no one's buying the games anymore and they're forced to take a risk with something, then yeah, maybe. But I don't really see it happening. And like one of the biggest problems in Pokemon is there's so many characters, so making detailed animation for every single character, especially with the amount of Pokemon increasing every generation, is incredibly hard. This is the reason why it works in Pokken is because there's only like a very small amount of like a very small fraction of Pokemon that are actually available to play with in Pokken, right? So I think that's another reason. Unless we have like we make like insane strides in terms of like AI that can like intelligently map like 3D animations onto any character. Until that kind of rolls around, I don't think it's going to be possible. I'm going to have very basic animations for Pokemon. Oh, when I said revive the series, I was kind of implying that it was dead. I don't think that's actually my position, no. When I say revive, I mean more like in a kind of like Renaissance way. More like reawaken, revolutionize. Yeah, they make a Pokemon MMO and they just keep updating it, yeah. Reinvigorate, that's what I'm looking for, thanks.
Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald are the most boring Pokemon games of them all. Also not sure if this is Unpopular. Houston is basically similar with
DLC pack. I mean, this is true for a lot of, like, this is true for Emerald, this is true for Platinum, this is true for Yellow, this is true for Crystal, this is true for any of, this is like always been the concept of Pokemon games. But I do think Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald aren't that boring. I think they're actually pretty damn good. I kind of wish people gave more of an actual reasoning for their opinions. Serena's overrated, and they went way too far with her and Ash. Oh, were those like the two that were actually like super shipped?
We need more variety in environments and story.
Cinnamon was a step in the right direction, but the whole Gym to Elite Four to Champion archetype needs to take a sideline to the real story and innovation. Yep, I do agree with that. I think having a completely new like type of story would be really cool in Pokemon. That's like the two ways they can bring innovation to the Pokemon series, is either completely rework the way that we go through the game and the way that the story is told and everything, or revamp the battle system. That's like the two big avenues I see, but that's also probably the two things that will never actually happen. Any of the spin-offs, and if you could choose to one to get another entry. I mean, like, the only spin-off that I've intensely played is Mystery Dungeon. It's okay, but Mystery Dungeon has some pretty glaring problems. Like, they need to rework the way that dungeons work in that game completely. It's way too boring. The gameplay is, like, super samey throughout the entire game. It, like, doesn't change at all. It's really, really bad. But yeah, I also agree with varied environments. That's why I kind of want, like, a South American region, because we need more jungles and more mountain ranges in Pokemon. Ash Ketchum is a really interesting character. Yes, he loses, but I like that. Main character doesn't have to win all the time. I can't, again, this is an anime take, I can't speak to it. Now, in general, I do think that, like, characters losing is important, right? Because a large part of storytelling is, like, having a character encounter a problem, then eventually overcome it, right? But it feels like Pokemon has it backwards then, because, like, Ash kind of just goes through and wins against all the badges, but then he loses to the league, but then because he finishes the season on a loss, there's no problem that he had that he overcomes afterwards, right? I don't know if this is the right way to make your protagonist lose. Shouldn't it be the other way around, right? I feel like having your protagonist struggle only makes sense if he overcomes that struggle in some way, right? Wait, what is this? Team Rocket was One of the most boring teams in the franchise. I mean, yeah, this is probably true. It's like the archetypal team, right? Every other team is based off of Team Rocket, but just adds actually something interesting. Team Rocket is just super boring. It didn't make any sense. But they didn't have to at the time. Gen 1 story is like really simple and supposed to be that, right?
Heart Gold Soul Silver is better than Fire
Red and Leaf Green, I think he means. But this is not an unpopular take. I think this is a pretty damn, like, normal take, right? Fire Red and Leaf Green were like shoehorned in because they needed a way to like have people get Gen 1 Pokemon on the advanced system, right? I don't know. Fire Red and Leaf Green are super garbage games, like some of the worst in the series. And then like Heart Gold Soul Silver are like actually pretty good remakes of an okay generation with like the most beautiful tile set in the series and based on Gen 4 mechanics, which were amazing. Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum had a pretty good post-game, man.
I prefer the newer games having less mons. Better to have less mons with more.
Yeah, this is kind of what I talk. This was like the worst thing about Gen 5. That they needed to add less Pokemon. This is why Gen 6 mons were like really good or like had a perceivable uptick in quality compared to Gen 5 mons because they added way less Pokemon. I 100% agree with this take.
Pokemon hasn't been good since Gen 4. I mean, Gen 5
is arguably even better than Gen 4, so I don't know if I agree with this. Unova being liked is very popular opinion. Wait. Are his unpopular opinions that things are popular opinions? What are these takes? Alternate cross is more cheaply difficult than hard. This is probably true, yeah. Because like you're basically forced to cheese it, right? Alternate endings in Pokemon. I mean, depends on how they're executed, right? They could be really cool. And it's probably really easy to like implement them in like an interesting way, right? Introducing, like if you beat the Elite Four with a certain team, then something happens, right? Snivy is really bad. Tepig is much better. The only reason people hate Tepig is because the third... I mean, yeah, this is the correct take. Tepig is actually an amazing design, and by no fault of its own is hated because, oh, it's another firefighting time. Fuck off. Hate on Torchic. But I do think Snivy is cool. Snivy has a lot of personality for a Gen 1 starter, like a lot. Like, even before Gen 5 was coming out, people were posting memes about, like, the smug Snivy and whatever. I don't know if you guys remember this, but this was, like, pretty popular. And Snivy was probably like the most adored character. Gen 7 ruined the meta and Ultra Sun and Moon wasn't needed. They added content. Didn't Gen 7 nerf a lot of the like super OP shit from Gen 6 and introduce the like really balanced Z crystals? I don't know enough about competitive Pokemon, I feel like, but this doesn't seem like that bad, like that good of a take. Cause like Z crystals seem a lot more balanced than like Megas. Maybe I just haven't played enough competitive. And also, I guess like the thing is Ultra Beasts and Tapus are like dominating the meta, right? And they're like super strong. So I guess like the power creep kind of fucked with those a lot. This could be true. Pokemon Anime is not as terrible as portrayed. Sure, this qualifies unpopular, but given that I've seen Kalos gets more flack than it deserves, I love the region and XY itself. The Kalos region, it's like okay. The problem with the Kalos region, honestly, the routes don't feel like real. They feel super small to me. Maybe this is because of like the way that the graphics are presented, but like they just don't feel as vast or as interesting as Gen 4 or Gen 5 routes. Maybe it's like literally down to the camera perspective or something, but Gen 6 feels like really like cramped, I don't know, or crammed. I don't know how else to describe it. And I feel like it doesn't have enough of like a coherent theme compared to something like Johto or Hoenn. I think the demand jerk rivals is silly. Why not well-written ones instead? We can have what the fuck is on his face? Can I even show this on stream? What the fuck? I do think it's important for the rival to feel like maybe not a jerk. He could be a well-written jerk, right? But he doesn't have to be a friend all the time. Hey, Gen 7 changes in power creep. To be fair, Gen 6 is probably the generation that introduced the most power creep of all time, right? Yeah, he needs more personality than hey bud, fancy seeing you here. Exactly, yeah. Which is what Gen 5 did, right? Gen 5 actually has well-written characters without them being jerks. But like to just have I think the problem... we don't want just like, or I think most people that demand jerk rivals, it's more about like the hate for like the same archetypal friend rival that we get every single time. Like the rival from Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu was a fucking joke. Like an actual garbage character. I like Ultra Sun and Moon, doesn't deserve the hate it gets. The story changes were not that bad. Didn't really go on. Overall, the resolution of that game is plot much better. Yeah. The XP share was a universal good. I'm gonna go ahead and actually agree with this. It's a hot take, and I agree with it. I think the XP share is essentially a difficulty button, right? If you want it to be that. The fact that you can turn it on and off is really, really good. And it makes grinding a lot more easy. You can always turn it off if you don't like it. I think it's a great item. Makes casual playthroughs really easy, makes grinding really easy. It's a fantastic addition. Yeah, you can literally turn it off. There's no reason to hate it. Gen 5 had the best designs. I don't agree with this. Gen 5 had a lot of very good designs, but Gen 5 also had a lot of really shitty designs. Fucking Gothitelle line, fucking Seismitoad. I think like Trubbish and Garbodor are pretty okay, but Like even the like the ice cream Pokemon, Clink Clank, and whatever, I thought were pretty good. But there's stuff like Galvantula that's pretty amazing. But yeah, there's just some really shitty designs.